Welcome to my first video about X-Plane aircraft painting. Today we're going to load an existing airplane model into Substance Painter and I'm going to take you through all the steps needed for that. So what are today's goals? We're going to fully load an existing X-Plane 11 aircraft model into Substance Painter. We're going to use the existing normal maps and textures, and we will be able to create a new livery for our plane and use this new livery in X-Plane. We're going to use the Beechcraft King Air C90B that comes with X-Plane, and what you see here is a rendering from Substance Painter of this airplane. So our toolbox, we're gonna start with X-Plane, of course. That's where the airplane model is living at the moment. We're gonna use a 3D editing program called AC3D, and we're gonna use that to import the 3D model from the X-Plane aircraft. And we're gonna use Blender to be able to export it into a format that's suitable for Substance Painter. And from Substance Painter, we're going to export our library back into X-Plane 11. So that's going to be our toolbox for today. So let's have a look at what an aircraft in X-Plane actually looks like. It's made up of a number of different parts. For example, the wings, the fuselage, any glass, the gear, cockpit, and here you see a number of these aircraft parts for our aircraft. And basically for every part of the aircraft we have a 3D model. That's the object file. We have a texture, which is basically an image that's overlaid over the model. And we have a normal map, and that normal map contains normals information and also roughness and metallic information. So let's start by exporting our 3D model. First step is to take that X-Plane object format and convert that to a wavefront format using AC3D. So in order to do that, in AC3D, we're going to import every part of our aircraft. So we're going to navigate to the aircraft directory and we see a number of object files. And we're going to import these. So we start with the fuselage, the wings, the different gear parts, the nose wheel and the main wheels. And we're also going to import all the glass surfaces and all of the lights. Now, there's a number of different parts, for example for the cockpit, the interior, the seats, but for today this will be sufficient, and we're going to save that as a wavefront file. It's actually not a Baron but a King Air, but hey, anyways. So we've now saved our wavefront file. The next step is to use Blender to export our previously created wavefront object file into an Autodesk FBX file for Substance Painter. It's a very quick step. We'll just import the wavefront file don't have to do anything else, just export it as FBX, and we're going to put that into the same folder. Now the next step will be to export the normal maps. Exporting the normal maps actually means splitting the normal maps. The explain normal maps are combined normal maps, which also contain roughness and metallic information. And in order to work with these maps in Substance Painter, we need to split those into individual maps. So for that, we're going to use a Python script. I'm going to put the link in the description for that script and also the other plugins that we use. And we're going to take each of the normal maps and split them into separate maps for normals, metallic, and roughness. So let's have a closer look at what we just did. We took this normal map for the fuselage in this case, and what we did is we split that up into 3 different parts: a roughness map, a metallic map, and a normal map. Now that we have exported our 3D model to a format that we can use in Substance Painter, and we've also converted our normal maps for use in Substance Painter, we can start importing it. So we're going to fire up Substance Painter and we're going to start by importing the model. We're going to use the metallic roughness algorithmic template, and we're going to use our FBX file. We're going to use a decent resolution, and we're going to use the OpenGL normal map format, which is important for Explain. And there we've got our 3D model in Substance Painter, and each of the different parts is actually a separate texture set in Substance Painter as well. Next step is to apply the maps that we created in the previous step to make it look like more of an actual airplane model. So what I did is I renamed the texture sets to the actual name that's also used for the different parts in Explain. That's going to be important later on to make sure that our textures and normal maps that we export have the correct naming. And we're now going to import all of these maps as resources into our Substance Painter project. And we're going to import them into the current project. So there they are all. There they all are. We're going to go to each part and select the existing normal map. So we have a normal map for the fuselage. And for the wings. for the different gear parts. And if you look closely, you can see things like rivets and panels and all of that stuff. That's the information from the normal map starting to appear on our model. Now the next step is to also import our or assign our metallic and roughness maps. So we're going to create a new fill layer. Gonna just select roughness and metallic, and we're gonna select our roughness and metallic maps for each of the parts. So we have fuselage roughness, and fuselage metallic, and you already see the changes in the 3D model. You see the metallic spinners on the propellers and on the edges of the air inlets. And we're going to repeat that same step for each of the texture sets. And the reason for putting this metallic and roughness maps on a fill layer but not the normal map is because I almost always want to use the existing normal map when I create a new library, but I don't necessarily want to use the metallic and roughness information, because when I apply a different material, that's also going to have different roughness information and metallic information. So not having the normal map on this layer will make it easier later on to just turn this layer off and still keep the normal information. Now, one thing to make it more realistic in here is to make sure that we select an alpha blending shader in order to be able to add an opacity channel to the glass texture set. And by doing that, we can make the glass actually transparent, which is completely useless for creating a library, but it is nice for creating nice renderings in Substance Painter. So this step is completely optional, but it makes it a little bit more realistic to look at in Substance Painter. Of course, we left out all of the interior parts, the seats, the cockpit, so we're actually looking straight through the plane. But still it adds another level of realism. So we're going to continue by loading the existing textures. It's just a step that I wanted to show you. It's completely optional again, because if you want to paint your own library, you're probably not going to use the existing textures. But then again, some of the planes, like the default Cessna, C172 come with a full white livery, for example, which is actually quite useful and a little bit better than of a starting point to start painting your livery than having no texture at all. So I am going to show you how to do that. And for that, we're going to import the existing textures from our aircraft directory. So those are all of the PNGs in this case. Other aircrafts use the DDS format, which is also natively supported by Substance Painter. So no need to convert these, you can just import any DDS file directly into Substance Painter as well. So let's import these to the project. There they are. And let's create a new fill layer for each part. Call it base texture. And this time we're only going to select the color. And for that color, we're going to select our texture image. And as you see, the 3D model is immediately updated with these textures. So the plane really starts to come alive here in Substance Painter now. And we're going to repeat the same process for each of the parts. And now all of the maps and all of the textures are loaded. So our plane looks pretty much exactly like it does in X-Plane. So let's create a new livery now. So let's paint. Like I said, for creating a new livery, I'm not that much interested in the existing one. So I'm going to turn these layers off first. And now we're ready to start painting. Now this is more of a technical video about all of the steps you need to take to import and export everything. So this is not going to be an in-depth video about all of the capabilities of Substance Painter, or even about techniques to do any painting. So I'm just gonna pick a material and freehand some drawings on the plane. So let's put some shiny copper paint on there. Oh, what I actually should have done is turn on symmetry. That is a very useful feature in Substance Painter, and whatever you paint on one side of the airplane will also automatically be painted on the other side of the airplane. So that's actually a very useful feature that for most of the exterior painting you should probably always have on. So we've added some lines to the wings. Let's also add some paint to the fuselage. And let's finish it off with something happy. And as you can see, because of that symmetry setting, the other side of the airplane looks exactly the same. This will do for now. So let's export this to X-Plane. In order to do that, we're going to select Export Textures. And we're going to use a special configuration for X-Plane. And we're going to select the parts that we changed, the fuselage and the wings. So let's have a quick look at that export configuration. I'll put a link in the description to the this export format. But basically, it contains a texture file with all of the RGB information and opacity information, and it contains a normal map where we combine the normal and roughness and glossiness information. Now to export this, I have created a folder in the libraries folder of this aircraft called demo, and I created the same structure as the existing library. And I'm going to export these files. Now let's have a look at these files and see what we've actually exported. So we're going to go into the libraries folder, demo, and we're going to see the texture files with the stuff that we painted on it and the normal maps. Okay, so let's fly this thing. I've opened up X-Plane, and when you select the King Air C90, you're now going to have a demo library there. Now it doesn't have any thumbnails. Thumbnails are not automatically generated. I believe you can generate those with PlaneMaker. And I've already started a new flight with this airplane, and as you can see, our brand new library is directly usable in X-Plane. So those are all the steps, and as long as you have an aircraft model and you did all the first steps up until importing the maps and the textures into Substance Painter, you can of course reuse that model in Substance Painter over and over to create new libraries for that that type of airplane. So that's really reusable. You can just be creative. So that. If you have any comments or questions or suggestions, please share them below, and I will be watching those. Also, stay tuned for more videos. We're gonna do some more in-depth videos about how to create libraries in Substance Painter, and a little bit more in-depth about uh, all of the capabilities of Substance Painter and the power of Substance Painter. And we might also do some more videos about actually creating a new aircraft model. But for now, thank you for watching, and see you.